going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for your daily focus. And it's Sunday, and I started something last week, and I'd like to continue to do it, where from here on out, I decree every Sunday will be Viewer Question Sunday, where I'll go into the comment section below, and I will find questions. What I'd like to do is a little bit of help from you guys, is any questions you want answered next week, go ahead and type them in to this comment section. That way I don't have to search everywhere for new questions. They're all neatly and organized right here in this comment section, and I will get to them next week. So a little bit of give and take. You guys give me some questions, and I will answer them next week. So I can't wait for more questions. Well, we got 2 questions this week, and we're going to start with an easy one and then go to the more difficult one. First question is from Logan Barrett. And his question is, do you think Stone Cold wrestles at WrestleMania 32? Why or why not? And who if he does? Now, I got to be honest, when I first read the question, I was like, come on, serious? And then I was like, there's more to this. There's more to this. I wanted to originally say, well, Logan, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Because I didn't think Stone Cold was going to wrestle at WrestleMania 32 originally. He's going to be 51. There's a lot of reasons to why I didn't think it would happen. Then my mind started working a little bit, which it can be a dangerous thing, admittedly. But over the next year, CM Punk is going to make his UFC debut. There's going to be a lot of things happening. We're going to see if Roman Reigns fails. We're going to see if Dolph Ziggler can continue his momentum. There could be a lot of things that make this a necessity for WrestleMania 32. Now, if you noticed, I brought up CM Punk because I think the only way Stone Cold comes back and wrestles another match is if it's against CM Punk. I don't see him coming back to wrestle anybody else. I mean, maybe they could sell the idea of Rock Stone Cold 4. I mean, I think people would still watch it, but I don't think anybody really wants to see Stone Cold and Triple H. I mean, we'd buy it, don't get me wrong, but Stone Cold and Punk, both coming back, both guys who very famously took their balls and went home. It could be a hell of a story, and I think it could be a good match. If there's a guy that Stone Cold feels comfortable with, you would think it would be CM Punk, and of course CM Punk has been wanting this match with Stone Cold forever. It would solve a lot of problems because, for one, it would make Stone Cold feel like he still matters and give him a guy that he knows he could have a good match with. On the flip side, it would be a great way to bring CM Punk back into the fold, because what better way to say we love you and we appreciate you and we do respect you so much, oh great CM Punk, by giving you what would go down as the biggest match in wrestling history. I mean, when I thought about this match for a little bit, and when I got over my initial reaction of, God, I just hate Punk sometimes because he's such a douchebag, I really thought about the gravity of this match. It would be one of the biggest matches in wrestling history. It would undoubtedly be the biggest match in WrestleMania history, which I guess would automatically put it in the conversation as greatest of all time for matches. But I mean, hell, can you imagine something like that? A build-up with those two on the microphone and what they could do in the ring, even at Stone Cold's age of 51. He's in great shape. He was never super athletic to begin with, at least in his WWE days. He would only have to basically throw kicks, throw punches, hit a stunner, maybe a couple scoop slams and stuff like that. He wouldn't have to do anything amazing. Punk is the type of wrestler that could take care of all of the other stuff to make the match really watchable, like he did with The Undertaker. And I think even at 51, Stone Cold would bring more to the table physically than The Undertaker did in their WrestleMania match. It was CM Punk's and Undertaker, so that's the best answer I can give right now. I think it could happen depending on what happens over the next year. if I have to put a percentage on it, 40%. Go a solid 40%, which is probably higher than a lot of people would give this chance of Stone Cold wrestling again. But I give it 40%, and I think we'll see a lot more projects out of Stone Cold in WWE over the next year as well. Probably see Stone Cold at WrestleMania again this year, like he was last year. Show up in some capacity, do a vignette, do something. Who knows? On to the big question, the one that I was excited about. The one I thought was going to be an easy answer, just like this one, really. And turned out to be much more in-depth. It comes from my boy Abstract Muscle. He gives me good questions all the time. If you guys are tired of hearing Abstract Muscle's questions, well, write some fucking good questions then, and I'll get yours on here. But until then, the great Abstract Muscle rules all in the question market. So his question is, what it boils down to was this. What's the greatest Intercontinental Championship match of all time that I've ever seen, whatever? Really good question, because I fucking love the Intercontinental title. It's one of my favorite belts. It's one of my favorite titles of all time. And honestly, it's had some of the greatest matches in history. Not just for the Intercontinental title, not just for title matches. I'm talking in wrestling history. Some of the greatest matches have taken place over the Intercontinental title. And why? Real simple. Because the Intercontinental title used to mean something. And it's starting to again. Dolph Ziggler is really helping bring some good legitimacy back to that title and some importance. And it used to be, whoever held that Intercontinental title, in a lot of ways, he was the champion. He might as well have been the heavyweight champion. Because back in the day, the heavyweight champ didn't always show up. The Intercontinental champ did, though. He wrestled everywhere, all the time. He was a combination of your main guy plus like your television title champion holder, for the companies that had it. They wrestled everywhere. They had the most high-profile matches. It was great. So first thing I want to do is I want to get to a couple honorable mentions, a few matches that are in there, like in my top 15 or something like that, but didn't quite make the number one spot. And then I'll talk about the two that are kind of beating each other up for that spot. Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, both Intercontinental title ladder matches at WrestleMania and at SummerSlam, both fantastic. Or was it Royal Rumble? I don't know. I can't remember. Both great matches. Just two guys that were going for it. Absolutely going for it. And Shawn is on a lot of lists. And honestly, he has at least one more in my honorable mentions column because he's that good. And Razor, people forget how good of an athlete he really was, back in the day. The guy could go, and he had the look of just an amazing wrestler. He had a great look. If things bounce a little bit differently, he can go down as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Not as Razor Ramon, as Scott Hall, obviously, because I felt that was a much better character because it was basically him. But he can go down as one of the greatest of all time. He really could have. He had that type of potential. He was that good. He ran in that circle of guys that were just so good. I mean, remember, he came up with Curt Hennig. Now, talking about Curt Hennig, he's also on the honorable mention list. SummerSlam 1991, Curt Hennig, then as Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart. You want to see a match that is just technically sound and as perfectly scripted, choreographed as you're ever going to see. God, those two, I wish we could have saw more out of Bret Hart and Curt Hennig because they had a fantastic, this is one of my favorite matches ever. It's not just of Intercontinental title matches. It's one of my favorite matches. It's a really good match. Any of these matches, by the way, should be on your playlist on the network or whatever, and you should be watching these matches because they really are fantastic. If you haven't seen them, slap yourself and then go fucking watch them because they're really good. Here's a little surpriser, I think, for some people. It's a more recent match. 2004 Backlash. Randy Orton versus Cactus Jack. Now, Jack was coming back from one of the few matches he had since he officially retired in like 2000, 2001 or whatever. He only had a handful of matches after that, and this was by far his best. It was better than that Ric Flair I Quit match and all of that. This was such a good match. It started with the build-up that Cactus was a coward, that Mick Foley was a coward, and Randy was so good at being a heel back then because he was such a fucking prick, such a young, arrogant asshole. Now he's just an old, arrogant asshole, but he's still very, very good. And the guy was athletic. He had the look, he had the feel, he had the persona. He was everything that you wanted out of a wrestler at that time. And Cactus Jack couldn't have been more of a polar opposite. And they had one of the most brutal matches. And you would not expect, nobody expected that out of Randy Orton. I mean, you just didn't. And Cactus took him into deep waters. And it was the first time we got to see that look of shock and expression out of Randy Orton that he's kind of become famous for. There's this spot in the match where he goes for an RKO on thumbtacks, and Cactus pushes him instead, and he lands smack barebacked right onto the tacks, and he's bleeding, and you can see the tacks just out of his skin, and the look on his face, the shock. It's one of my favorite moments in wrestling. It was just a good match. Cactus, especially for like a gimmicky match, and it was more of a hardcore match than it was a regular Intercontinental title match. And I'm usually not a huge fan of the gimmick matches for titles. I mean, not that I'm not a fan. I just feel that it limits wrestlers. This did not, because it was exactly what Cactus needed to do at the time. Just a great match. I mean, it really, really was. One of my favorites. I don't know if it's as good as the Edge match, though. Edge and him at WrestleMania. That was a pretty goddamn good match, too. But it's close. Triple H and The Rock in a ladder match, SummerSlam 1998. Right before they both would become the men in the WWE. They were right there in the mid-card battling it out, and they were two of the biggest stars at the time, but they weren't in that final tier yet. This kind of put them on the map. This ladder match was great because neither one of them were really known for ladder matches. I mean, and still not. I mean, it's not something you think about. And I guarantee there's a few people that's watching right now and going, The Rock and Triple H in a ladder match? Really? Go watch it. SummerSlam 98. They put on a clinic. They put on a friggin' clinic. It's so good. And I know I just said gimmick matches aren't always the best, but it also depends on who's in the matches. Sometimes you're going to see something different. It's the same way with Dolph Ziggler and Luke Harper that we just saw, that ladder match. It was so not what anybody expected to see, and it made it good. It was so brutal, and nobody expected to see what we saw, and that's what made it awesome. And it was kind of the same way with these two guys who were athletic guys, obviously The Rock a little more so than Triple H, and they just had a fantastic match. They went out and let it all out and stole the show that night. Great fight. Here's my favorite of the honorable mentions because, God, this match is so overlooked, and most of you probably haven't even seen it, to be honest. I guarantee most of you might not even know what I'm talking about. Some of you will. And you're the ones that I love, of course. No, I'm kidding. I love you all. I love you all! 1993 Monday Night Raw. In fact, it was the May 17th, 4 days before my birthday, by the way. I wasn't born in 93. I was born in 83, but May 21st is my birthday for those of you looking for a present for this guy this year. May 17th, 1993. Shawn Michaels, Intercontinental Champion at the time, had a run of... He had the belt for like 7 months. He basically put out an open challenge, and out of nowhere comes Marty Jannetty. You know, his former rocker partner, you know. And they had one of my favorite and one of the best matches I've ever seen. It's such a good fight. And Jannetty upsets him. It's also one of the biggest upsets in Intercontinental title history. I mean, nobody saw this one coming, and it was a good match. It was a lot of fun to watch. It was a Raw title change, which doesn't always happen, and especially under these circumstances. And it was just another one of those moments that made Shawn, even in defeat, you're like, man, there's something here. And also, when you watch it now, it really makes you wonder, what the fuck, man? What could Marty Jannetty have been, you know? Because he didn't have to disappear. But he let personal things get in the way. He had some problems, and he was never able to recover. And it's unfortunate because Marty was a hell of a wrestler. He was very good. He wasn't Shawn Michaels, but he was pretty goddamn good. Who is Shawn Michaels? That's the question. All right, let's get to the controversy here. The second greatest Intercontinental title match of all time, for me, it's very difficult because it's widely considered not only the greatest Intercontinental title match of all time, it's also considered like the greatest match in wrestling history, period. And it's hard to argue against it. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. This is the match that made me a wrestling fan. I watched it when I was a kid, and then I remember watching again when I got a little older. And yeah, I was into all the clowns and everything and the pageantry and the spectacle of wrestling. But this match is what made me a wrestling fan. Because it had everything. I mean, it really did. It had the story. It had the psychology. It had amazing spots. And it was at a time, this match was far ahead of its time. Because this match could be on television tomorrow. Between two guys. And if it was the exact same type of guys as far as athletic ability and psychology. And it was the exact same match, move for move, we would still all be eating it up. You can't say that about matches in the 50s and stuff because they were the same type of match. Yes, there were some great matches, but this match was so far ahead of its time as far as what they did and what they were able to bring out of each other. I mean, it took each other to places that we knew Ricky the Dragon had it because we've seen matches with him and Flair go an hour and these crazy matches. But this was kind of the match that now Randy Savage is the man. There was no more question about it. We knew it's just that good. But it's not the greatest of all time. It's, for me, the greatest Intercontinental title match of all time happened at the Royal Rumble, which happens to be my favorite pay-per-view of the year, 2001. And it's controversial because we're not allowed to talk about this guy anymore. Apparently. Well, fuck all that, because I'm going to talk about him. Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit is one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time. Yes, what he did later on, for whatever reasons, because of the CTE, because of the concussions, whatever we want to call it, he murdered his family. It's horrible. It's atrocious. And if you believe in hell, that's where he certainly is now. There's no question about that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about greatest IC match of all time. And that's what this was. Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Royal Rumble 2001 ladder match. Holy shit. Now, I wanted to play a highlight package of this match, but I figured I would definitely get flagged if I did that. So I'm going to put the link in the bottom. Make sure you click on this link. Another uploader by Awesome, star in front, star behind, Awesome, uploaded this a while back. I'm not going to put it here in the video because I'm a big puss bag, I guess. But go ahead and check this video out. It gives you the highlights, or just go watch the match because it really is good. You got the network, go watch it because it's fantastic. I mean, look, this match went on for a long time. It felt like it could go on forever. They knew each other so well. Benoit and Chris Jericho probably wrestled each other thousands of times over they mirrored each other. They went everywhere. They were in the same companies together. And they traveled the world together. They were good friends. And, God, they could really go. They brought out the absolute best in each other. There is nobody, maybe with the exception of Shawn Michaels, that could bring more out of Chris Jericho than Chris Benoit could. And I don't think there's anybody who brought as much out of Benoit as Jericho did. at least for in-ring performance. I think psychology, I think his matches with Kevin Sullivan were ridiculous. But as far as in-ring performances, nobody could bring more out of Chris Benoit than Chris Jericho. Dean Malenko, they had some great matches too, don't get me wrong. But for my money, if I want a surefire, can't-miss fight, give me Chris and Chris, you know? I mean, I knew what I was going to get. And this match is so goddamn good. Chris Jericho winning the belt after knocking Benoit off the ladder and onto the outside. There was no stupidity. He didn't have to go through a table to lose the match. He just simply got knocked to the outside and was not getting back up. This match felt legit. It felt like we were watching something special, and it's because we were. Everything about wrestling was shown in this match. Everything that we love. You want to see a great match? Go check this one out. Hell, check any of the matches out that I listed, because they're all fantastic. I'll put them in the description below as well. So if there's any of those matches you want to go watch, go ahead and check them out because they are fantastic. So there it is. Your questions answered once again. I hope that provide a little bit of entertainment on this Sunday. So yeah, other than that, I think covered it pretty well today. I did a lot of recording. I did a Creators Corner. Make sure you're checking those out. Next one comes out on Thursday. I'm not sure which one I'm going to put out. I have a few to choose from. So a little juggling act. I got to figure out who I want to put on next. If you want to be on Creators Corner, let me know. Whatever you do, you sing, you dance, you make videos, you make macaroni art of Stone Cold giving the stunner to Vince McMahon while his pants are down. I don't give a shit. Whatever it is, let me know. You want to make booger art of the gobbledygooker? Hey, I'll display that. I don't give a fuck. If you knit, if you sew, if you build Legos better than anybody else, I don't care what you do. If you create, because I feel creating is the ultimate thing that we do in life, let me know. And I'll put you on, and we'll talk about it. We'll have a good old time. And we can cuss and maybe drink a beer or something. I don't know. Why not? Fuck it. And remember, I'm up to 225 subs. When I get to 500 subs, something's going to happen real special because I do my unboxing videos, and I've been putting items aside from my unboxings. And when I get to 500, one lucky subscriber will get the box of all the stuff that I pulled out. And it'll be a lot of fun, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So, yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys want to see on here, what you want to hear on here. Ask me more questions, whatever, because all I got is time. I'm just a fat guy living in Germany, baby. So that's all I've got this week on your Daily Focus, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you tomorrow. Like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. Check out all my good friends, Joe Cronin, Dave Rose, Tommy C., Jeff Huffman. Check out all those guys. Grand Slam 87, Shot from the Point, Spectrum Gaming 617. Those are their names there. So go check them out. They all deserve your time. And we're out of here. Peace.